They were meant to grow old by your side. That was the silent plan, wasn't it? The promise your eyes made to each other without needing words. The future you envisioned, where life only made sense with their presence. But the threshold was crossed too soon. They left, and now you remain here, carrying the weight of continuity in a world that suddenly seems devoid of meaning. The question that tears at the silence of your soul during sleepless nights is always the same. Why them? Why now? Why this unbearable sequence where you are forced to learn to breathe in a reality that no longer contains them? Is there a reason, a hidden purpose in the machinations of fate? Or is death merely a random cruelty of materialistic chance, reaping lives indiscriminately, leaving the living to try and find logic in the absurd? Rudolf Steiner, the great initiator and founder of Anthroposophy, contemplated this question not with the eyes of the body, but with the vision of the spirit. And what he discovered about why certain souls cross the threshold of death before their loved ones is not what traditional religious consolation usually says. It's not just that God needed one more angel. It's not simply that their time was up. It's something infinitely deeper, more spiritually scientific, and more laden with purpose than any platitude could capture. Your loved one didn't just die before you. They completed something with you. They made a move on the cosmic chessboard. To you, he fulfilled an agreement that his own soul signed in the spiritual realms even before you both donned the garment of flesh. Understanding this choice, this sacred contract between souls, doesn't make the pain disappear instantly, but it transmutes it. It transforms suffering from a heavy, meaningless lead into the alchemical gold of a spiritual purpose. It transforms the feeling of abandonment into a perception of fulfillment. It transforms the cry of, "Why did you leave me?" into a reverent whisper of, "Thank you for what you gave me when you left." Today, we will unveil what Rudolf Steiner's spiritual science reveals about the sacred chronology of death, why certain individuals must depart first, and what the soul of your loved one, now living in the spiritual world, desperately needs you to understand about their departure. Before you were born, before any of you took on a physical body, Steiner revealed that you were together in what he called Devachan, or the higher spiritual world. There, in the vastness between death and rebirth, you were not humans limited by time and space, but fully conscious spiritual beings, weaving the fabric of destiny. Karma, no soul enters or leaves physical existence randomly. The moment of birth and the moment of death are inscribed in the grand panorama of destiny, agreed upon by all involved for the maximum evolution of each individual touched by that life. In this realm of planning, you and your loved one contemplated what each of you needed to learn, heal, and transform in this incarnation. And together you made a pact, a solemn agreement sealed in the light, not only about the meeting and the love you would share, but about the separation, the timing, and the purpose of the parting. "I will go first," his soul may have said, "because my departure will be the only event capable of awakening in you forces that would otherwise remain dormant forever." And you, his eternal soul, agreed. Not your human self, which would forget the agreement upon plunging into the oblivion of birth, but your higher self, which understood the profound gift hidden in what, on earth, would be felt as a devastating loss. A woman sought out Steiner, devastated by the sudden death of her young husband. "We should have had another 40 years together," she wept. Steiner's response changed the trajectory of her incarnation. He said with the serenity of one who sees the invisible, "You had exactly the years that destiny required." His untimely departure was not a break in the line of life. It was the completion of his gift to you. Now begins the part of the journey that you must tread alone, not as punishment, but as the blossoming of a strength he planted in your soul when he left. Destiny never misses its clock. Through his clairvoyant investigation, Rudolf Steiner identified specific spiritual dynamics that explain why someone precedes their loved ones in death. Unlike common views, Steiner saw death not as an end, but as a transformation of state, where the relationship continues in an even more intense way. The metamorphosis of etheric forces. Steiner taught that when someone dies young or in the prime of life, the life forces, the etheric body, that were not used to age the physical body, do not dissipate. They become spiritually available. A soul that departs early releases a stream of spiritual force that flows directly upon those who remain. Premature death becomes, secretly, a source of spiritual energy for the survivors. The one who departs donates their unspent forces so that you may accomplish a task that requires extra spiritual vigor. It is a sacrifice of love. They leave so that you may have the strength to become who you need to be. Awakening through shock. In our materialistic age, souls risk falling completely asleep in the comfort of physical existence, forgetting their divine origin. Steiner observed that often, a soul agrees to depart first, to act as a violent and necessary wake-up call. The pain of loss tears the veil of material illusion. Where there was complacency, now there is searching. Where there was attachment to matter, now there are questions about the spirit. Their departure is the final act of service to prevent their soul from being lost in the density of earth. They break their heart so that light can enter through the cracks. What Rudolf Steiner revealed about the grieving process changes not only the landscape of our pain, but the very physics of our existence. Conventional wisdom tells us to get over it, to move on, as if the past were a dead weight to be abandoned on the road. Spiritual science, however, presents us with an inverse and infinitely more complex reality. The relationship has not ended. It has undergone a metamorphosis of state. Just as water becomes vapor, but does not cease to be water, your loved one has left the solid state of matter to vibrate in the radiant state of spirit. And this new form demands new organs of perception from you. Steiner taught that profound grief is, in fact, the symptom of the birth of these new organs. When we feel that pain that seems to tear at the chest, it is not merely emotional sadness. It is the friction of spiritual childbirth. Grief is love that, losing its physical object, begins to grope into the invisible. When we cry, if we do so with the correct awareness, we are dissolving the rigid boundaries of our ego. Grief thins the veil between the physical world and the etheric world. Those who have lost loved ones naturally become more permeable to the spiritual world. Involuntary seers, because a substantial part of their own being already lives there, anchored in the soul of the beloved. The danger of selfish grief and spiritual nourishment. However, Steiner left us with a very serious warning about the quality of our suffering. There is a type of grief that acts like lead on the wings of the departed soul. If we close ourselves off in bitterness and revolt, or in the selfish desire to bring them back to fill our loneliness, we create a dense and dark barrier. The dead, who now live in the world of pure sympathies and antipathies, feel this selfish pain not as an emotion, but as a hailstorm that lashes their soul, hindering their vision and delaying their ascent through the Kamaloka, a place of purification and detachment. On the other hand, if we manage to transmute our grief into devotional thoughts, into serene memories bathed in gratitude, we perform an act of white magic. We send them the spiritual nourishment they desperately need. Steiner was categorical. The dead need our thoughts. In the spiritual world, they no longer possess the physical senses to perceive the beauty of the earth they loved so much. They now see the world through us. When you walk through a garden and genuinely marvel at the color of a flower, if you intentionally direct that feeling toward your deceased loved one, he experienced this color and beauty manifest through your astral body. You become his eyes and ears on earth, and in return, In a cycle of sacred reciprocity, he becomes your silent guardian, injecting into your will forces of courage and inspiration that you often confuse with your own thoughts. If you shut yourself off in absolute depression, you blind that window. The greatest gift you can give to the deceased is to live a life rich in spirit, beauty, and morality, offering these experiences to him in nightly meditation. The survivor's choice, a mission, not a chance. This may be the most impactful and difficult revelation to accept from an anthroposophical perspective, but it is the one that brings the greatest liberation. Your loved one did not die leaving you due to a twist of fate. Among all the souls with whom he had ancient karmic connections, he chose you to be the survivor. Before you were born, in the vastness of cosmic midnight, he looked into your spiritual essence and saw that you possessed the latent strength, perhaps unknown even to yourself, not only to endure loss, but to be alchemically transformed by it. They didn't leave you behind because you were weak. They left because they knew you were strong enough to carry the torch of memory and raise it to a new level of consciousness. Remember the case of the widow who questioned Steiner, "Why did he leave me to face old age alone?" The initiate's answer reconfigured her entire existence. He didn't leave you to face this alone. He went ahead to prepare the way. Every challenge you face now, he is already there, on the other side, weaving threads of light to guide you. You are not abandoned. You are following a trail he is opening in the virgin forest of the spiritual world, so that when your time comes, the road will already be paved by his love. The true activity of the dead. It is a materialistic error to think that the dead are resting in passive inactivity. According to Steiner's clairvoyant investigation, the dead are immensely active. Their work is to weave the future. They are at this very moment, working on the forces of nature and human destiny. And much of that work directly involves you. There is a law of spiritual osmosis. The dead send us spiritual impulses, sudden intuitions, and solutions to problems that seemed impossible. We, the living, send them the content of our experiences transformed into love. They prepare our future karmic environment. You know those inexplicable coincidences that alter the course of your life for the better? Often it is the hand of your loved one moving the threads of destiny on the other side, organizing encounters, opening doors, protecting you from invisible dangers. But they can only act if we allow them to. Human freedom is respected even beyond the grave. If our hearts are shielded by materialism or forgetfulness, they remain by our side, but powerless, like someone shouting through soundproof glass. Our conscious openness, our recognition of their presence, is the key that unlocks their power to act in our lives. The sacred practice. Reading to the dead Steiner suggested a very specific, powerful, and comforting practice. Reading to the dead. This is not a metaphor. Departing souls, especially those who died suddenly, violently, or who lived immersed in materialism, may be confused, groping in the darkness of Kamaloka, without understanding their new reality. In moments of silence, preferably before sleep, visualize your loved one as vividly as possible. Remember their tone of voice, the gestures of their hands, and read to them, aloud or in focused thought, texts of profound spiritual wisdom. Read about the soul's journey, about eternal love, about the nature of the spirit. Your reading acts as a beacon in the fog of the astral world. It guides, calms, and nourishes the disembodied soul. They hear, not the acoustic words, which are vibrations of the air, but the meaning and the love with what you emit them, which are vibrations of the soul. Steiner recounts cases of souls who found peace and the path to light solely because someone on earth had the charity and discipline to read to them every night. By doing so, you are not only consoling yourself, you are performing a priestly duty, helping in their evolution. The myth of the unfinished business and the exact moment. Why was the moment of death that exact second? Why not a day earlier or a month later? The human mind tortures itself with what-ifs. But Steiner teaches that death occurs at the mathematically precise moment when the balance between what the soul could give to Earth and what it could receive from Earth is either complete or exhausted for that specific incarnation. The concept of unfinished business is an illusion of limited earthly perspective. From the soul's point of view, the cycle has closed exactly where it should. That goodbye that wasn't said, that apology that got stuck in the throat, that final embrace that didn't happen, all these are formalities of the flesh. The instant the soul crosses the threshold of death, it is freed from the limitations of language and time. It sees its heart instantly. It sees the intention behind her flaws. She knows the truth of her love without the need for words. There are no misunderstandings in the spiritual world, only transparent and absolute truth. Premature death in the eyes of the spirit can be an act of mercy or of evolutionary acceleration. Steiner explained that a short and intense life can be worth, in terms of density of experience, more than 80 years of a lukewarm and sleepy life. The soul of your beloved was not stolen from life. It completed its mission efficiently and quickly, and now awaits you, not with impatience, but with the serenity of eternity, the reality of reunion. And here we arrive at the great promise of Anthroposophy, validated by Steiner's direct vision, the unwavering certainty of reunion. Souls that truly love each other belong to the same karmic group. You are like birds of the same migratory flock. One may fly higher for a time, disappearing into the clouds. Another may stay behind to rest. But the flock, always, it is not a final destination. Separation is a cruel illusion caused by our limited waking consciousness. Steiner revealed a comforting secret. Every night when your physical body sleeps and your consciousness fades, your soul leaves the body and enters the spiritual world. And there, night after night, you meet with your dead. You converse, advise each other, embrace in the spiritual light. They help you plan your next day. You tell them about your struggles. Upon waking, the physical brain cannot download these high-frequency memories, and only a vague feeling remains, sometimes of inexplicable comfort, sometimes of deep longing. But the reality, the hidden truth, is that he was truly separate from them. Separation exists only on the small island of daytime consciousness. In the vast ocean of sleep and spirit, where we spend a third of our lives, you are always together, working side by side in the construction of the Temple of Destiny. The message from the guardian of the threshold. If Rudolf Steiner's voice could translate what his loved one, now a resident of Devachan, through the stars, that would be it. Stop feeling guilty for continuing to live. Your progress is my purpose. The joy you feel again is not a betrayal of my memory. It is the success of our sacred contract. I left so that you could find within yourself the source of strength you once sought in me. I withdrew so that you could grow. When you smile, my spiritual world lights up with colors you cannot imagine. When you overcome pain and serve others, I evolve along with you. Do not visit my grave seeking me in dust and bones. Look for me in the sunlight, in noble thought, in the courage to move forward. I am not the past. I am the future waiting for you. Become who you promised to be, so that when we meet again, we will have stories of triumph and spiritual achievement to share, and not just laments of a sterile longing. You asked why they left before. Now you know, because your soul is strong enough to complete the symphony you began together, now conducting both parts. Theirs through living memory and intuition, yours through courageous presence on earth. This is love in its highest expression. This is initiation through loss. This is the contract you signed in the light, now being fulfilled in the temporary darkness of earth. But the darkness is not forever. The spiritual sun shines unchanging behind the clouds of mortality. They have not gone away. They have simply arrived home earlier, lit the hearth, and left the door ajar for you. Live, love, grow. That's what they hope to see from the balcony of eternity. That's how you honor their death, by making your life worth twice as much, by becoming the masterpiece they helped sculpt. If these words touched the depths of your soul and brought new light to your loss, please like this video, share your story of spiritual connection in the comments, and subscribe to the channel to continue unveiling the mysteries of life, death, and eternity. 3. Karmic balance and freedom. Sometimes the dynamic between two souls, though loving, has reached a point of evolutionary stagnation. Continuing to be physically together would impede the necessary development of individual freedom. Steiner spoke extensively about the mission of freedom in our time. One soul may agree to withdraw so that the other no longer leans on it, but learns to stand alone, developing the strength of the self. This is not abandonment. It is the supreme pedagogy of love that says, I love you so much that I withdraw so that you may discover your own divinity without my shadow. Steiner was emphatic. Death does not end the relationship. It evolves it. But this evolution requires work. The most difficult secret that Anthroposophy reveals is this. You did not merely agree to let them go. You solemnly agreed to stay. Your soul has contracted not only union, but survival. Being left behind is often the most arduous task. To die is to graduate to the spiritual world. To survive is to continue the curriculum in the school of earth, with a crucial piece missing, learning to find wholeness in apparent incompleteness. Why would your soul agree to that? Because there are spiritual organs of perception that can only be formed by the substance of processed pain. There are colors in the soul that only loss can paint. The void left by their physical absence becomes the space where the spirit can finally be born within you. A man asked Steiner why his wife had died, leaving him with young children. The spiritual reading revealed that she had completed her task of bringing those souls into the world. Her task was the gateway. His was the support. He initially felt anger, finding it unfair, but then he understood that they were partners across the veil. She now worked on the spiritual side, sending inspirations, while he worked on the physical side, executing the action. Separated by death, they were more united than ever in the execution of the sacred contract of parenthood. The pain you feel, according to Steiner, is not merely emotional sadness. It is the perception of the soul striking against the boundary of worlds. It is love groping in the dark, searching for the beloved object that has changed dimensions. And it is precisely in this groping, in this painful search, that new spiritual meanings begin to germinate. The death of the beloved is the gardener who tills the soil of your soul. It hurts, but it prepares the ground for the new.